everyone, and welcome back to the Franchise Growth Show, where we talk systems, scale, and building franchise brands that buyers compete for. I'm Joe Carter, founder of the Twin Flame Group and partner with the franchise consulting company. I work with founders who are serious about turning revenue into transferable value. But let me be blunt. Most independent business owners think that growth means opening another location. More square footage, more payroll, more stress. But here is the catch. Growth without structure is just amplifying chaos. And today's guest understands that better than most. Rick Robinson is the president of Franchise Genesis, a franchise development firm that develops independent businesses to turn them into proven models and scalable franchise systems without taking on capital risk, bloated overhead, or operational drag. If you've ever wondered whether your business is franchise ready or whether franchising actually increases value, this episode is going to challenge how you think. But before we get into it, quick shout out to our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Dallas Fort Worth Pierce Bespoke, the go-to clothier for founders and executives who understand that presence is a part of performance. But let's dive right into it. Rick, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Joe.
Of course. Let's start here. What makes a business truly franchise ready versus just profitable?
Well, let's start at the very beginning. When someone asks me, is my business franchisable? I ask them three questions. One, is your current business model profitable? And by the way, you only need one corporate location. Is it better if they have a couple? Sure, but one is all they need. Two, can you teach someone else how to run this type of a business? And three, will there be plenty of customers across the country for your franchisees to sell your products or services to? If they say yes to those three questions, that's a great starting point. And then we do a much deeper dive into the responsibilities and what franchising is all about.
I love that. You're not just necessarily chasing scale, you're helping them to understand what does scaling look like, so they're not attempting to replicate their own chaos in some other market.
Absolutely.
You talk about franchising as a way to grow without major capital investment. Can you break that down for our audience?
Sure. There's many advantages in expanding through franchising. The first one is capital, right? Now you're going to be using other people's money to expand your business. First, they're going to pay you a one-time upfront franchise fee. Currently, that's between $50,000 to $60,000 typically. And that's just to join, be a part of your brand, get your training, have access to your systems. Then they pay for everything to get that branch location open. Equipment, real estate, whatever is required, they pay for that. So if I'm the franchisor, my only cost was whatever marketing dollars I spent to find this individual and award them a franchise. Of course, then there's some support costs after that. But that is the key thing about money. You're now using other people's money as opposed to your, as well as liability, to open up branch locations.
That's phenomenal. I've been talking and coaching and consulting founders for over 2 decades now. Most of them think that expansion means either more debt or dilution. But obviously through franchising, when done correctly, it leverages franchisee capital versus their own capital. I love it.
Absolutely. And the other advantages are, some of them are fairly obvious. One is, now you're working with vested owner operators running locations. So of course, they run these locations much more efficiently and profitably than employees would do. 3, lack of liability. The franchisee will have their own insurance, and you're even going to have them name you, the franchisor, additionally insured under their policy. Next, support. Because you're working with owner operators, it's more coaching and mentoring. So you're not getting bogged down in their daily issues with staff turnover and whatever else might be happening locally. So it's more enjoyable as a franchisor where you're coaching and mentoring, but it also means you don't need much of a staff. You can have quite a few franchisees that you're supporting with a very small support team.
Love it. Love it. What do the founders that you work with underestimate the most in terms of shifting from an operator in their small business to a franchisor?
Well, part of it is that now you are not the boss, right? You are really working with franchise partners. Now, there's a very strong franchise agreement and operations manual to help keep them compliant, but motivation now is much different. The people are not worried you're going to fire them if they don't perform. Now it is really working with them to motivate them to achieve the goals for both of you. what the franchisee wants and what you, the franchisor, would like to help them achieve.
Love it. Love it. That's where sometimes like an ego trip can tie people up a little bit. You no longer have to be the hero operator that's closing every deal. You got to become like an architect where you're helping instrumentalize the people and what they're doing in different markets to execute your playbook. I love it.
I think another thing, Joe, that people don't realize is in franchising, they have so many options. And once that door is opened up to a franchise candidate, he's going to learn about business models that he had no idea existed out there. So first off, most people looking for franchises have never owned a business before. The numbers vary, let's just say 70%. So they are now looking to buy their very first business. They're scared to death. Their spouse is worried about them leaving their job and health benefits. And often that means they came from a family that is not entrepreneurial. So the family members are thinking they're crazy. So they're trying to talk them out of it. And second of all, that means that you really have to have great systems and training in place to support these franchisees. They're scared to death. They've never run a business before. So they really rely on your systems. You know, there's a saying that I love. It says, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems and processes that are in place. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for franchisees that want to be part of a team that will follow processes and systems that help ensure their success, which is another reason why veterans make really good franchise candidates for a lot of brands.
100% agree. And you are speaking my language in reference to systems are the only important thing when you get into a franchise space. The better your systems, the better execution you're going to have. The less your systems, less execution. But obviously systems can be a very large bucket and a whole bunch of stuff underneath it. You mentioned the FDD, an operations manual, but can you define even further what systems are that a franchisor should provide to their Z's to help them be successful?
Yes. So I've been in franchising for 42 years. So I go all the way back to the 90s. The internet was invented, but no one was using it yet. And computers weren't really being used. So it was much more difficult to track things back then, to help see what the franchisees were doing, how they can compare themselves to other franchisees. It was very different. Everything was done manually. Today, there are so many great options in technology to help track what franchisees are doing, to help give you, the franchisor, visibility to identify are they succeeding or not succeeding, but also for the franchisees to help them run their business better. And also, it shows they can see a comparison of how they're doing compared to other franchisees. So what's great is franchisors can have software systems in place that are in a cloud that gives franchisees access to all sorts of things. It could be checklists for their employees. It can be videotapes that give training not only to franchisees, but also they can use for their employees. So there's so much technology out there today that franchisors have access to help them manage and track how the franchisees are doing and give the franchisees additional tools to help them monitor their business and stay in compliance and be successful.
I love it. Couldn't agree more. Buyers, especially franchise buyers, they're not necessarily paying for something they have to go hustle around. They're paying for systems to help them with that hustle. So providing them with the roadmap, the playbooks to go and follow and execute, help them achieve success faster. So that's fantastic.
You know, when we talk to business owners and we tell them what we think they should price their franchise fee at and some of the other fees, sometimes they're shocked. They're like, oh my goodness, who would pay this much? And then I go back over their career history. I said, let's think about the money, blood, sweat, and tears and mistakes you have gone through over the years of building this business. They don't have to go through that. You're solving that problem for them. And if they listen to you, stay on track, and follow the systems that you have now put in place, that is going to save them so much money. So don't underestimate the value you bring to a franchise candidate and new franchisee with what you have gone through to build this business.
Couldn't agree more. There is such a thing as sweat equity, even blood equity to a degree. And you have to wrap those in so that you're truly getting a return on investment, not just capital investment, but time investment. So I love that. How do you help franchisors, once they've established their brand, find the right candidates? Because not every person is a perfect fit for a certain model.
Yeah, so we have a great training program and an ongoing coaching with the franchisors. You know, I tell all of them in the training class, I say, listen, if we're sitting here a year from now and you haven't sold a franchise yet, It's your fault. One, maybe you can't find that perfect franchisee that's your twin that's out there. Well, you're never going to find that. So you're being too strict in your the way you are monitoring and deciding who's going to be the right candidate. And then at the end of the year, if you haven't sold a franchise, sometimes it's because you're still so focused on running the current day-to-day activities of your current business, you're not paying attention to potential leads that come in. We have a saying in our industry, speed to lead is really important. These franchise candidates are usually looking around at franchise opportunities in the evening after they've come home from work. And if there's not someone there to respond to them quickly, it doesn't have to be by phone, but a quick email address by your CRM, maybe a brochure, and try to schedule an appointment with them right away, they're going to get confused. They're going to talk to a number of people out there, and you'll never get them into your pipeline to find out if they were a good candidate or not. So you have to be focused on, I'm a franchisor now, and I have to be focused on finding, awarding, training, and supporting franchisees. So you need to start thinking about who's going to start taking over your responsibilities in running the current day-to-day operation of your current business.
Couldn't agree more. Speed to lead absolutely is invaluable in this world, and so is speed to lead through the pipeline stages, because there's obviously various different number of stages you have to go through to vet them properly. And if you get stuck in one and fail to follow up or something, they're likely going to go to another brand and you missed out.
Yes. And we coach them on who is truly the ideal candidate that is going to run your type of a business the best, right? As we talked about earlier, they have to want to be part of a team and follow systems. That's a given. But then we look at other traits that they may have built over time, what their previous careers were like. Did they manage people, not manage people? Were they ever involved in hiring people? Some outside sales experience, important or not important? There's so many different variables that come to play on who's the ideal candidate for running your type of a franchise. So we help them take a step back, analyze that. So now all of a sudden that has widened the pool of potential franchise candidates they can look at now and not be too particular about who they are. You're looking for someone that's smart, that listens, that can learn, and will follow your systems.
Couldn't agree more. Alignment is key in this. You don't have to find the picture perfect carbon copy of yourself. You just need to find somebody who's aligned and who has a desire to go execute. Love it. Franchising promises faster growth at a corporate level. So what helps to ensure, though, that it's sustainable growth?
Well, that's a good point. So it does help you grow much faster. First off, as we said, you're using other people's money. It opens you up to markets and territories you maybe didn't even think about expanding into when you finally have enough money and think you can find a manager to run that location. So, and now also with all of the marketing tools that are available for people, like consultants like yourself, Joe, the internet, franchise expos, there's so many ways to expand with and other resources to find good candidates. You can grow very quickly. So first off is, as I said, having a really good interview process to know, are they a good candidate or not? And also have multiple people interview them. So, in the beginning, it's usually just the owner or CEO of the company that's doing everything. But as you start to increase the amount of leads that are coming into your business for franchise opportunities, there needs to be someone else vetting those first. Who's the one taking the emails and responding to them? Taking the phone calls, doing the pre-qualifying, making sure they really are a qualified candidate. And are they serious about maybe investing now, or are they just thinking about it a year or two down the road before it eventually gets to the CEO call, right? And also, lastly, in the discovery process, as you put a candidate into with you, and it may take several months, usually the final step is bringing them to your corporate location. We call that a discovery day or a meet the team day, but you all feel good about each other. The candidate feels good about you. You feel good about them. It's like the final step. You're going to meet them in person now. They're going to meet the team in person. You might have dinner, so you'll see them on a more casual level. And then oftentimes, you're going to show them what a day in the life of a franchisee is. It might be a ride-along. It might be working in the back of the shop, whatever that might be. You really want to tick every box to make sure you feel very confident that this candidate will be able to have the money for investment and also be able to run the brand location the way you wish them to. So that's kind of the final step. Now, it's not a guarantee for success, we're like anything else. You'll have your top 20% superstars that are really brand leaders. Then you'll have the next 70% that aspire to be them. And most of them don't quite get there, but they're really good franchisees running a good business. And then that bottom 10% that just don't get with the system. But what's nice is you're able to weed them out of the system so that they don't bog down the system and bring anyone else down with them. We call that exiting them with honor. There's ways to get them out of the system, find buyers for them. Often one of the other franchisees is happy to buy their location. But that way, you're constantly replacing that bottom 10%. They're moved up into that 7%, 70%. And then some of them will move up in that elite status of the top 20% that are your brand superstars.
Totally agree. Having alignment, having processes and procedures in place to be able to vet through them correctly so that when a decision is made, both by them and by you, there's strategic alignment there so that the scale can occur and you can have hopefully more than top 20%, maybe it's top 25% because you just have that many more stronger candidates and you have less on the opposite end to have to deal with.
Yeah. I think another comment I should talk about, Joe, success is relative. I'll get business owners that come to me, Rick, if I just had 8 or 10 franchisees in my region, I'd be happy. Well, that's fine. We can help you do that. 8 or 10 franchisees paying you a royalty on X. Once we run the numbers with them, they're like, wow, yeah, I thought I had to have 100 locations. No, less than 20% of franchisors ever hit 100 units. And that shocks them. But of course, we do get the owners that come in, hey, I want to blow this thing up. I want to sell 200-300 units and then exit the company in a few years. And of course, we can help them do that as well. So success is relative. What would your goals be? Now, of course, oftentimes they think they start off with just wanting 8 to 10. Then they already have their management team in place, the support team. Well, I could grow this to 20, 30. So eventually those goals usually do increase based on their knowledge and having better systems and a team in place to help support more growth of franchisees and helping them achieve the American dream.
100% agree. Understanding goals at the beginning is great, but certainly goals can navigate and adjust as you go because as you get bigger, you're going to learn both the good and the not good about growth. Sometimes there's some growing pains that happens along the way, but I love the fact that you brought up creating a franchise brand, blowing it up and exiting in one day, because I do deal with a lot of founders that fall into kind of that categorization where they're looking or planning for a future exit. Mm-hmm. So from a valuation standpoint, how does franchising impact enterprise value?
Well, it hugely impacts it. I remember 15, 20 years ago, it was just a handful of private equity companies that invested in franchise systems. And it was mostly really large franchise systems that had a minimum of 5 million EBITDA. But then all these other private equity companies started popping up because they saw the value of being able to expand a brand using business owners, franchise owners. So it's greatly changed. Right now, no matter how big your company is, how many private locations you own, you're only going to sell it for 4 or 5, maybe 6 times your EBITDA. Once in a while, there's a home run of 8 times because you're very specialized, but typically 4, 5, 6 times. Well, in franchising, it starts at 10 to 15 times because private equity loves to invest in franchise systems. Why is that? Because they're not inheriting hundreds of employees with all that liability and a giant human resource department. They're inheriting all these business owners running locations for them with the small little support team that the franchisor has already put in place for them. So it's very easy for them to come in, purchase it, invest more capital to grow it even more, and then resell that company in 4, 5, 6 years at a much higher multiple. So if you really want to grow your business and sell it for the highest multiple CapEx at some point in time, franchising is the best way to do that, and the fastest and the best way to do that.
Couldn't agree more. My days back in private equity doing 400 deals, $14 billion in valuation. That's what we were looking for. We were looking for something that was easy to scale, that we could just throw money at and it would explode very quickly, but something with very consistent cash flow, aka royalties, inside of the franchising space. So yeah, there's been a massive swing that's occurred in the private equity space, and that's likely only going to continue. So getting in now as that trajectory is beginning to explode, if you got the right brand and you put the right systems in place, create a little bit of concepts and some franchisees, you'll be shocked what franchise entrepreneurial value you can make.
And all of these new private equity companies that have popped up, the smaller groups, the smaller funds, that has opened the door for them to invest in much more early stage franchisors. I get connected with them from time to time. Hey, Rick, reaching out to you, just want to know any of the brands that you've recently franchised that you think really have legs that we should take a look at. If they're only doing 500,000 EBITDA, we'll take a look at them. It's changed the landscape tremendously. So yes, you can exit the company at a much early stage now because of all these other private equity companies that are interested in investing in you. And oftentimes they keep the CEO on board for a few more years, right? They need someone to run the company. And especially if it's an early stage emerging franchisor, it's really important you have the right team there that are supporting those franchisees and helping them grow to the next level.
100% agree. 100% agree. So for the founder out there that's listening, who's kind of on the fence when it comes to should I or should I not franchise? What is, I know you mentioned 3 of them at the beginning, but if you could give one question that they should ask themselves before they even really look at this as a serious option, what would that question be?
Well, I usually ask them, what would your goals be for this brand? Ideally, what would you like to see with this brand? And once in a while, I'll get someone, Rick, I want to retire in a couple of years. And I say, well, then this isn't for you. Maybe you open another corporate location if you want to. Franchising isn't right for you. But if you would like to expand your brand within a much shorter period of time and remove yourself from the day-to-day drudgery of running the business and do more coaching and mentoring and being more the face of the brand, franchising is for you. So don't wait, get started. I mean, I've had so many clients wait a year or two because of whatever reason. Then they finally get started, and a year later, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I waited. I wish I hadn't waited. Just think where I would be today if I would have started a year and a half ago, Rick, when I was first started speaking with you. So don't wait, contact us. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we're going to help you succeed, help you keep from failing in this new growth of franchising, because we have all the systems in place. There's no one else out there like us. We are a complete franchise ecosystem. Turn you into a franchise, get you launched with lots of training, and then include lots of marketing with all of our sister companies to help find great qualified franchisees for you to help you expand and grow much more quickly.
Love that. And you were actually saying where I was going in reference to y'all are a full package, like begin to end. I think I want to franchise all the way up until you got Z's in the system, and every step in between. Y'all are an all-inclusive platform and execution roadmap. So if there is someone that's listening and they want to learn more about Franchise Genesis and how to turn their business into a franchise, how do they connect with you and your team?
Okay. Well, our website is franchisegenesis.com. If you want to contact me directly, it's rickr@franchisegenesis.com. Be happy to give you a quick overview about our services, also learn more about your business, see if it's a good fit, and then we can have a more in-depth conversation about putting a strategy together to help fine-tune your business model to prepare it to be ready to franchise.
I love that. And if you didn't catch it, just scroll down in the commentary. We'll ensure to include all the social links and the email contacts to Rick and his team so you can reach out to them and franchise your business ultimately sooner rather than later. The longer you wait, the more likelihood there's going to be somebody else that franchises instead of you. And all that happens at that point is now you get more competition. So the faster you do this, but do it the right way, the better off you're going to be, and you can create a legacy brand. This was fire, dude. I love this. Obviously, I deal with franchising every single day, so this is fantastic. But getting to hear it from quite literally the man, the myth, the legend himself who creates franchises every single day, this has been amazing. So I know you're a super busy guy. First and foremost, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to be on here with myself and speak to our audience.
Well, you're welcome, Joe. I enjoy this very much. I'm looking forward to helping you and your audience any way I can.
Love it. Love it. For everybody out there listening, if you're even thinking about franchising or scaling in any form, remember the goal is not always more locations. It's more transferable value. So reach out to Rick and his team or myself, and I'll be happy to connect you up with them. And we can make your business not only a franchise, but a legacy that lasts. Thank you, everyone. Have a great and fantastic rest of your day, and we will see you all in the next episode.